and I am going to do a quick 0 to 60 test on this one. I'm going to stand on the brake with my left foot, stand on the accelerator with my right foot, and then I'm just going to drop the brake. And oh my goodness, this thing is off and running. Hey gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk. I'm Corey, and this is the all-new, all-electric 2026 Hyundai IONIQ 9, the largest vehicle Hyundai has ever produced. And we have been living with this one on our home turf for an entire week now. What insights have I gained from my week with this big behemoth? Well, I'll go through all of that. The first thing I want to do here in this video is thank Hyundai for bringing us this cyber gray Calligraphy performance all-wheel drive trim to test for a full week here on our home turf. We did previously spend a day testing the very tippy top trim Calligraphy design. This slots just underneath this. This is the more mainstream top line version of their new EV. And this is definitely the one I would opt for, but we will get into all that. I do want to talk about first what powers this. Of course, it being an EV, we don't have anything under the hood except for storage for stuff. And I do appreciate that we still get a frunk here under the hood. We have a little bit of storage space for all of our charging cables. I think this is a perfect spot to store all of that because it's out of the way. You don't have to dig through it or take up your actual cargo space to get to it. So we have our fast charging cable underneath here, as well as all of our adapters. Motivating this IONIQ 9, we have a 110.3 kilowatt hour battery and dual electric motors, which employs their HTRAC all-wheel drive system. The total system output of this vehicle is 422 horsepower, 516 pound-feet of torque. We do have multiple different drive modes that we can select and go through, but we will talk about that more when we are actually driving it. Closing the hood, we can talk briefly about style. I did mention this is the Calligraphy performance, not the Calligraphy design. The Calligraphy design offers a couple of matte paint options, but this cyber gray is of that putty paint variety, and I think it works very well. It's been hiding the dirt very well. You can see it's not the best weather out here so far today, and yes, this hides all the road grime that we've accumulated through a week's worth of testing. But I do want to talk a little bit of style here. You are probably seeing on camera these lights doing some sort of dance kind of going across the front. That's not happening for me here with my eyeballs. They are a solid state. These are all your DRLs, and then you can see we have our turn signals, our hazard lights up here, all pixelated. They're parametric pixel design that we see on the IONIQ 6 and the IONIQ 5. Carried over here to the IONIQ 9. This really does look like a Hyundai Kona, just grown up and pixelated a little bit more because we have that kind of solid LED light bar on the Kona. Very sleek, very aerodynamic, not a lot of different places for wind to catch and create drag. Reminds me a lot of the sleekness of the front of the last couple of Range Rover products we've tested here lately. Very sleek, very curvaceous, very aerodynamic. We do get this massive panel right here, and I'll show you later when we come in close, a lot of parametric pixels back behind it as well, but you do have all your radar adaptive cruise stuff right there with your front-facing camera. Down here, we currently have the vehicle on and running, and these two rectangles are open to feed the air conditioning as it's breathing in and to help keep that 110.3 kilowatt hour battery cool when you're driving down the road. But for better efficiency, these do close off. Otherwise, it is a very clean, very handsome front end. So yes, we will come in close to all these parametric pixels that make up the running lights, but you may have also noticed the headlights are also pixelated. So we have these multi-lens array headlight design right here on the sides of this big gray panel. And yes, now you can see a little bit better the parametric pixels hiding back behind it. It is the subtle details of this vehicle that really show that Hyundai has paid attention to all the details, and it really classes it up when you see them in person versus on screen or just in print. As we come around to the wheels and tires, this is perhaps the biggest determining factor or distinguishing factor between this calligraphy performance, that was harder to say than I meant, and the calligraphy design we previously tested. The calligraphy design gets those multi-spoke turbine style wheels. Here we get these 5-spoke, very aerodynamic wheels that kind of look like a Chinese throwing star, wrapped in 285/45 R21-inch Hankook tires. These are Evo AS tires. They do have some sound deadening foam in them to help keep this quiet overall. I think longevity speaking, as an owner, I would prefer these wheels over what is on the calligraphy design, just because it would be easier for me personally to keep clean, because I would probably be the one washing the vehicle. As we pull out to the full profile, this is where I can talk about just how large this vehicle is. We had it parked next to an Escalade, and it was practically the same size with one exception. And that one exception being just how sloped the roofline is the further you come back. This high point right here behind the front doors is equally as high as an Escalade on the road. The presence of this IONIQ 9 from the front doors all the way forward is very massive. But as you work your way back to the rear of the vehicle, you can see just how low the rear roof slopes. I'm 5'10", and my eye line is actually above the rear roof. So it has more of that kind of fastback look that gives this a sporty edge. And we haven't even talked about my favorite design element of this IONIQ 9 yet. While I do like that sloping roof line and the hip lines on the rear fenders, the rear view of the IONIQ is perhaps my favorite. Again, just like up front, the LED lights are solid state back here for me. The camera, no matter what mode or frame rate I film in, does not capture them consistently. So the little dance you see here on screen is not what I am seeing with my eyeballs standing behind the vehicle. But standing back here, you can see how that dramatic rake on the profile gives it a very sporty looking back end back here. And then we've just got some nice high-end, classy, thoughtful touches. First and foremost, just like what we see on the Tucson, the Hyundai logo is actually hidden behind the glass there. And then the IONIQ 9 branding is actually recessed into the tailgate. So you can see how it is flush with the tailgate back here, just giving it a very clean, classy rear end. I mentioned the Escalade earlier, and that's very appropriate for the taillight design. These are very Escalade-like taillights, but they aren't quite as big because, well, again, we have that sloping roof line, and then of course we have all the parametric pixels that set this apart. I really do appreciate the amber turn signals and how they aren't tied into the brakes. You can see we do have parametric pixels going all the way across the top of the hatch, though not all of them light up, and I will show you why here in just a moment as we open up the hatch. You can open it up in multiple different ways, from the key fob through their smart key access, where you can just have the key on your person and stand behind the vehicle and it'll beep 3 times, or you can push the button that I just did and that will get you inside. And while we're talking parametric pixels, these last few pixels on this little panel do not light up. Have not been able to get them to light up in any situation. I think that is simply a factor of how it is designed, but they figured a cohesive look with parametric pixels going all the way around was better than having a big blank spot. I don't know, you can sound off in the comments what you think, but let's talk about storage back here. I am impressed with the amount of space that Hyundai was able to give us behind the third row. So many 3-row SUVs have the rear headrests basically resting on the back window. That is not the case here. You can definitely get some roller bags back here. You can actually pack quite a bit of luggage, which is saying a lot. I appreciate just how much space is back here. But when you go back to the fact that, yes, this is very much Escalade sized, it's kind of expected, I would assume, for a vehicle this big. Underneath the floor here, we get a little bit of additional storage. You can see we have some hidden storage down there, some hidden storage down there, but all of it is hard plastic. So if you put something hard down here, it is going to rattle and make some noise for you versus if it had been carpeted or felt lined. Talking about amenities back here in the back, you can see we have power fold 3rd row seats, and second row seats. Yep, let's not do that one. But we have second and third row power folding seats back here. So I can increase the cargo capacity very quickly, very easily with just the push of a few buttons. The only reason I did not do that one is because Tucker's child safety seat is currently sitting in it. But you can see just how much storage space we now have with a very flat load floor with those seat backs. So that is very impressive. And unlike a Cadillac Escalade, we can bring all of those seats back up, including the second row of seats. So this is much nicer than an Escalade in that fact alone. And we haven't started on the luxury features inside just yet. Over here, we do have some additional power. We have an emergency button here to open and close the hatch. So I guess if you get stuck back here, you can get out if you need to. One last bit of cool tech is the power outlet back here. You can see 125 volt, 15 amp, 3-prong plug back here. But you can also use the adapter that comes with your IONIQ 9, plug it into the NACS port. Yes, the Tesla charging network is native here on this IONIQ 9, and you can use their vehicle to load adaptive function and just plug something into the exterior of the vehicle for your next tailgate, all of which is very nice. But let's close it up. Let's hop inside and see just how luxurious it is in this IONIQ 9 calligraphy performance. There's a lot to talk about with the luxury of this one. I have truly enjoyed living with it for a week, but we'll start with the luxuries of the key fob here. So typical Hyundai key fob, it is their logo. It's not my favorite. It's a little too big and bulky. I liked their previous key fob better, but you can see we have all the usual suspects on here. We have lock, unlock, remote start, panic button. You can see we have hatch release, and then these buttons right here, smart park, remote smart parking. So I can actually push and hold these buttons here on the side. I don't think I was close enough to it when I first pressed it, but the vehicle will actually move all by itself without anyone in the driver's seat up to a full car length for a better parking situation. It works very well for us because we have a very tight garage. It is 2 single bay doors with a step right outside where you would be getting in and out of the driver's door in our normal parking space. So we do very much appreciate this remote smart parking for when we are leaving the house. It is very easy just to back out of our garage and then get in as long as the weather is cooperating. You may have also noticed, as we were talking about aerodynamics, the door handles are flush mounted when the vehicle is locked. But as I just come up to the vehicle, if they do not present themselves, I can push that button right there, and boom, they have now presented themselves. When I open the vehicle, you can see we have H-Tex leatherette throughout. We have a lot of ambient lighting and some nice touches, but I do want to go ahead and hop all the way in and close the door to show you one of my favorite features of remote start, and that is the fact that the vehicle is now on and running. I did not have to push the engine start button in order to trigger that because, well, it knows the key is in here and the vehicle was already running. No need to push the engine start button. But if you don't remote start it, simply come in, press right there, and the vehicle is on and running. But I do want to talk a little bit of the doors. While we're here, you can see we have the H-Tex leatherette insert here. We have this big armrest, this big door pull, and all of it is LED backlit. So there is an LED light that runs the width here, and it does splash light up here. You can see it is all perforated, and we do have a little bit of storage down here, some metal switch gear, and we do have massage, or ergo motion as Hyundai calls it, on the driver's seat only, 2-person memory, all of which is very nice. And you can see the two-tone, we get a lot of different materials here. It does work very nicely and just kind of classes this up. But at a as tested price of just over $77,000, you are getting into luxury categories. So yes, you do have to class it up just a bit. To go with the Range Rover styling outside, we get a Range Rover-esque steering wheel here on the inside. We've seen it before in Santa Fe. Now we're seeing it here in IONIQ 9. I like it. It's got all the usual buttons on here for changing what is displayed on your screen here. So you can go through a bunch of different things there. You've got your lane centering and your cruise control. This does have full adaptive cruise control. You can see we've got our volume and tuning right here, as well as some quick access buttons. I really like what's back here. These are their paddles for adjusting their regenerative braking. We'll talk more about that when we're driving, but you can see we are at a level 1 on regenerative braking, and I can up that just by pushing that one paddle and bring that down over here. So like that a lot. We have a 12.3-inch screen here, 12.3-inch screen here with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. We'll show you when I'm not filming on my phone. We have a color head-up display right here for all your pertinent information. So even though we have a good readout here on this 12.3-inch digital screen here, we get redundancy up here on the head-up display, which I like. One more screen to talk about, rear view camera mirror. You can see we can flip that back. This is not my view out the back window. That is my view out the back window. So we have a tidy back window, but with those rear headrests down, it's not too bad. But I don't really have to worry about any of that. Coming up here, no sunglass storage, but we do have a single switch that controls both your power sunshade and your panoramic glass roof. You can see just how large the opening panel is for the glass roof. It is quite massive, though it doesn't open up the entirety of that panel, so you get a lot of additional light in here. The thing I don't like about this single switch mechanism is if you push it too hard, you'll open everything or close everything if that wasn't your intent. We have a suede headliner up here, which is very nice. We have nice use of materials here, though living with this, I complained in our one-day test, this was catching a lot of glare. You can see it's catching a little glare right now. There are instances where that will happen. It didn't happen as much in my week living with it that I thought it would after testing it for a day. Same with this panel right here. Yes, I'm getting some glare on it. It's got direct sunlight on it, but it isn't as bad as I imagined it would be having spent a single day with the vehicle. So that is a nice thing to report after living with it for a full day. Let's talk about the graphics here. This is showing off Hyundai's new graphics. I really like this cartoon-esque style. You also, I'm going to go ahead and power it down, get an animation across both screens when you power it down, which I really like. You get that paper airplane flying through, but we'll go ahead, put our foot on the brake and power it back up. And you can see, yes, you get all your necessary warning chimes. Moving down here, we get physical controls for your infotainment, including volume and tuning, which I really like. Physical controls for your dual zone. This is actually a tri-zone climate system, but dual zone front, single zone rear climate. We also have heated and ventilated seats up front, which I really like. All of that really makes this a very luxurious vehicle. You can see we also have a heated steering wheel, and we have this driver-only AC function, so you aren't paying in electrons to cool off the entire cabin. You can have it just pointed back at you. Moving down even further, you can see we have a lot of power points in here. This USB port is for interfacing with the infotainment system, but all the rest of the plugs in here are 100 watt max USB-C. So you can plug your laptop in here and charge a laptop and not have to think twice about, are you getting enough power? You do even have an auxiliary power port here if you need it. Lots of storage in this. We've got a shelf here with a rubberized mat. We've got a shelf down here with a rubberized mat. You can actually slide the center console back so you can get to those or get to this flat load floor right here, which is very nice. You can slide this forward. You've got a place for charging your phone, Qi wireless charger. It works. It does its job properly. It's raised up, so it helps keep it cool. And we've got rubber grippers all around so it doesn't go flying around. This right here is a fingerprint identifier for different driver profiles, which I really like. You get your different drive modes here. You can see Eco, Normal, Sport, and My. And then when you press it, you get snow, mud, and sand, different terrain modes. So I like that you can toggle through multiple different drive modes in this. Downhill descent control, auto hold function for when you're driving in traffic and don't want to keep your foot on the brake. This defeats all your parking sensors, and then your quick access camera button. Good 360 cameras on this, great views all the way around, including this very nifty design right here. You can see we have the calligraphy design wheels on this model right here, but the compute power that goes behind being able to flick around the car and see all the way around while stitching all those images together is very cool. And you can see you can go into deeper detail as to what you can see from all of these different camera views. So I really do like that a lot. All accessed by that camera button there, or by twisting that right there and putting it in reverse. Park is on the end right here. So that is how you get this thing moving. As we move further back in the storage discussion, we can talk about how we have a shelf up here like we see in the Santa Fe, and a drop-down glove box with interesting cubbies throughout. It's a deep pocketed well back there, but you can see we have a little storage here in the door for all the Monronis, the window stickers. Then we have this wide opening center console. You can see very tall, thin lid here with a little bit of storage. This is our pencil bag we keep as we transfer from vehicle to vehicle. But then you have this tray that comes out and an even deeper well of storage that can be accessed from the back. So you can see the drawer underneath that we'll talk about when we're in the back seats actually feeds through to here. So I can actually drop this pencil bag in here, and we will get it when we move back to the back seats, but that is not the last we will talk about that there. Again, I talked about the H-Tex seats. They're leatherette, they're nice, they're comfortable, but they're a little on the firm on the material side. They are comfortable otherwise. The seats themselves aren't firm, but this is definitely not a leather seat. It's not semi-aniline or Napa leather by any means. It is very much their H-Tex synthetic leather. I do like how we can control the seat from right here. So if you've got somebody riding in the seat back here, you can adjust the seat very easily as the driver or the rear passenger to make that seating position just a little bit more comfortable. I like the two-tone here, but I feel like they got it backwards. I'm curious if brand new blue jeans will rub off blue dye on this lower portion, given that it's all very lightly colored. We've not experienced that in our week, but just something to consider when picking your interior color on your IONIQ 9. Coming to me, plenty of headroom and space in here, but there's a really cool feature that I'm actually going to have to put you out on the tripod to show you. So we didn't talk about these seats like I normally do before I climbed in, because I wanted to show you how remote start actually keeps the vehicle running when you get in. So we do have a lot of controls here on the side of the seat. Four-way lumbar. You can adjust your bolsters with this little dial right here, and then you recline, your slide, and all that. But you get this right here, your extending thigh support, which is very nice for relaxing. But that is not the last control we have here, because we have this little rocker button right here. All four captain's chairs in this vehicle have relaxation mode. And for the driver's seat, when you push and hold it, it even gets the power steering wheel out of the way. And now I'm reclined in a zero gravity like state, where I can relax and enjoy a quick charging stop or take a nap out in the parking lot, which I did a lot in my last corporate job. But yes, a very comfortable seating position right here. And again, you get that on all four captain's chairs. So front passenger and both mid-row passengers in this one as well. Coming up to the back doors, we get those same power extending door handles with the IONIQ 9 branding on them. Simply pull on them, and my goodness, you have a lot of room to get inside. These back doors are massive, which may make parking in a normal parking spot, especially downtown heavy population areas, a very difficult task, because yes, they are massive. They are almost minivan big without the cool sliding mechanism. There are some nifty features with them, including these manual sunshades that do a great job of blocking out nearly the entire window, which is very nice. You can still see we get the perforation back here, we get the LED backlighting, two cup holders built into the door, which I really like, and then a little bit of storage down low as well. You can see power adjustable seats back here as well, which is a very nice touch, including, yes, you guessed it, the relaxation mode. So we can put that leg rest out and get really comfortable back here. You can see it really does lift up very far. And one thing that Hyundai did is really prioritize this second row of seats versus the third row of seats. We'll talk about that a little bit as we get into the third row. But yes, you can see sitting behind myself at 5'10", limo-like amounts of space. Cup holders are a very easy reach. And then coming to the back of the center console, I have ventilated and heated captain's chairs back here, which is very nice. I've got my third zone of climate controls back here, which is all very nice. I can control everything I need to from back here. And yes, we do have dinosaurs throughout. But I showed you earlier, this does slide forward and back. It does allow me to get into the back as well as from up front, which I really like. And then I already showed you the drawer that allows me to get things in and out from the lower section there. So that is very nice. We get some hard map pockets on the backs of both seats. More 100-watt USB-C power back here. So again, all 4 passengers up in the captain's chairs have access to that, but we actually have 2 more seats in the back with 2 more USB-C power ports back there. As we look up, you can see great view of the panoramic roof that actually goes back behind our heads. Here in the second row, we get ceiling mounted air vents, which I really like and appreciate for especially rear facing car seats in a hot East Texas summer. Hyundai's doing everything right on this vehicle. It really does work well for families. And I suppose our family review coming up soon, where I install Tucker's child safety seat and Holly's behind the wheel, we'll dive into that in great detail. But I really like just how much space is back here. You can see we do have armrests that you can ratchet into different places. There we go. But multiple different ways in which you can get comfortable back here. We'll go ahead and put mine down and get that comfortable. I'll go ahead and see. We will recline. And you can see the headrests back here are even a little bit different. And I can put my leg rest out and get very comfortable here in the second row. But this isn't the only row of seats in the IONIQ 9. We actually have 3 rows of seats. This is a 2 plus 2 plus 2. And there are multiple ways to get back there. I could go through that center pass through, or I can push that button right there. And you can see, since these are power folding seats, it's going to do all the work for me. It does take a little bit of extra time if this had been a manual process versus having the power operation, but now you can see, yes, I can get into the 2 plus 2 back seat back here. You can see we do have lower latch points for putting in child seats back here, but with that car seat in its furthest back position, we're a little tight on overall space, which is not my favorite. But you can see this seat is all the way forward, and we still have a decent amount of room. It is not a gracious amount of room, but there is definitely some negotiation to be had between second and third row passengers. We'll go ahead, put these headrests up, and talk about what amenities we have back here. We do have power recline third row seats, so you can even get comfortable back here, and more 100-watt power, which is very nice. Very big windows back here, so you don't feel claustrophobic, even though that roof line, as we pointed outside, does rake very steeply back here. You can see me, this is the upright seating position. I still have good headroom back here. So even with that tapering roof line, no major problems with space. And then, yes, I do have the power recline back here as well, so I can get even more comfortable. Though legroom, knee room is going to be a problem. If I'm truly trying to be behind somebody in the furthest back position, that is an issue. But as we come over here, this seat is not in its furthest back position. You can see just how much space I have here with this one. Though if I push this button right here, it's going to go back to where it was last, which I hope does not recline all the way. Yeah. So here, I'm good. I'm not great. But again, they prioritize the comfortability of the second row captain's chairs with the relaxation mode and all of that. So there is some negotiation to be had if you've got anybody riding back here, but it's not a bad place to be. I mean, you even get 100-watt USB-C power. Moving into the driver's seat and getting ready to drive this one, there's a lot to like. Again, I've got the Ergo motion massage going right now. My phone is within reach, but charging, kind of out of sight, out of mind. Everything is exactly where I'd want it. It is a very good vehicle to sit behind the wheel of. Nice cushy steering wheel. I really do like it here. But there are some things I do want to note. First, this hinge can get stuck if you lean on it a little too much to get in and out of the vehicle. So for the most part, this has worked well, but just something to note there. Another thing, we do have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It all works very nicely, but I really do like the Hyundai graphics that they have built into this. So I kind of find myself leaving it on the Hyundai screen over the CarPlay screen, which is kind of funny for me to say, being as ingrained in the Apple ecosystem as I am. Again, multiple different drive modes in this one. We'll go ahead and put it in sport because thanks to our partnership with RaceBox and their GPS race timers that test 0 to 60 runs and lap records, you really can test your vehicle's performance, which is exactly what we want to do here. We'll go ahead and twist that into drive and we will set off. Now, I have not, as of this moment, 0 to 60 tested this one, but I do know it is quick. The power numbers are definitely there, but the weight is the big issue with this vehicle in that it is kind of heavy. So as we come to a straight stretch of road, I'm going to come to a complete stop. We are in sport mode, and I am going to do a quick 0 to 60 test on this one. I'm going to stand on the brake with my left foot, stand on the accelerator with my right foot, and then I'm just going to drop the brake. And oh my goodness, this thing is off and running. 4.45 seconds, 0 to 60. That is faster than the last couple of performance vehicles that we've had here on the channel. 4.45 seconds. I remember when 5 seconds was V8 pony car fast. Yeah, I'm kind of dating myself there, but 4.45 seconds in a vehicle that can comfortably take 6 people around, and while I'm getting a back massage, and without being like obtrusive or obnoxious. I really do appreciate the way Hyundai does vehicles, but I am going to go ahead and put it back in normal mode for this next section of driving, where we will really be talking about what it has been like to live with, because we have been running errands with this one. We've been going to the grocery store. We've been taking Tucker to school and to different performances and things that he's done. And this has been our go-to vehicle just because of how spacious it is and how comfortable it is. It's very quiet in here. We talked about the sound deadening material inside those Hankook tires. We do have some sound deadening material throughout this vehicle. We have active noise cancellation, and we don't have an engine making a bunch of noise in front of us. So on this highly textured pavement that I have been yelling at the cameras in other vehicles on just because of how noisy they were, it's really quite quiet and serene in here. It is a very comfortable, serene place to be. I have enjoyed our time in this one supremely. We got out of a Genesis GV70 and into this, and I had to say, for a very similar price point, you're getting a lot more vehicle, literally, with this IONIQ 9. And as long as your lifestyle can adapt to the EV lifestyle, this may be the better buy. Sure, you're not getting Napa leather seats, but you are getting seating for 6, and you're getting very cool lounge seats all the way around in this one, at least in the front 4 seats. And ventilated seats there in the second row. This is a very premium vehicle, very spacious vehicle. Yes, a very large vehicle. I talked about being able to adapt to the EV lifestyle. When we got this one, it was at 40-ish% battery, and it took 7 hours to charge at home at our dedicated Electron 240 charger. That ain't all that quick, but at DC fast chargers, whether it be the new Tesla superchargers or through a CCS adapter to some of the other brands of DC fast chargers, this thing will go from 10 to 80% in a respectable amount of time, so that you won't be using those lounge seats too much or for too long. But talking about overall range in this, the EPA rates it at a max of 311 miles of range. And if we do the math, 110 kilowatt hour battery, yeah, we're not going to get this with the 2.6 miles per kilowatt we have seen over our week's worth of testing. I've got 2.5 showing in front of me now because I've left it running with the AC going because the humidity has been 90% today. But 2.6 is what we have been averaging outside of that. And again, a lot of that is due to the fact that we've been using remote start a lot here in the summer in East Texas. Getting this thing out and driving it here on these twisty back roads, you might have seen some of the imperfect pavement. It kind of just floated over everything. This has a very land yacht-like style to it, even to that tapered boat tail back end. And it rides very much like a luxury land yacht here on the road. It is a very nice, comfortable ride in all respects. I've got no real complaints. I did spend the better part of an entire day making circles around Savannah, Georgia when we got to preview this and get to see where they're made just outside of Savannah at the new Meta plant. And I will say there is some body roll here. You're not going to hide that. But given that the batteries are down below us and that they are the heaviest part of this IONIQ 9, it does mitigate some of the body roll at least a little bit. I will, though, say that in parking lots, this is showing its overall size. I mentioned this being the largest vehicle Hyundai has ever produced, and you feel that in the parking lot. I have had to make multi-point turns to get into some parking spots or to get out of some parking spots. This is a big vehicle all the way around, and it could benefit from four-wheel steering, which is a feature I am sure they are saving for the upcoming Genesis variant of this platform. We've already tested the Kia EV9, which we really liked. This IONIQ 9 is more of the luxury branded trim of those two, but the Genesis version will be the supreme luxury version of the triplets. We saw them preview the Neoloon concept in New York last year, and I am very anxiously awaiting the GV90, as we suppose it to be called, which will take everything I love here in the IONIQ 9 and just take it up a whole nother level. And I think the four-wheel steering will be like the cream of the crop, additional features that you get, and I could see usable day in and day out on a vehicle this large. It really, really is a big vehicle. I mentioned parking it next to an Escalade. It really takes up as much space on the road as an Escalade, though it is fairly easy to park in our single bay door garage, so you kind of get the best of both worlds with its sloping roofline and sort of tapering back end design. As we get to the end of the twisty bit of the road here, we are going to do a couple more 0 to 60 runs, but more as you would probably test it without brake torquing it, without putting it in sport mode. We're just going to go from a stop, move my right foot from the brake to the accelerator. So first thing we need to do is come to a complete stop. Here we go. My goodness, this thing is still quick even in normal mode. No, it's not as fast, but 4.68 seconds. Still sub 5 seconds, 0 to 60. We're going to turn around, do it one more time because we were going slightly uphill there. We're going to be going slightly downhill. I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference, but turning around right here, you can see just how big this vehicle really is. It doesn't like making tight U-turns all that well, but we'll come to a stop right here and test it one more time in normal mode. Ready, set, here we go. Goodness, this thing just pulls. And because it's an EV and because it has all-wheel drive, 4.56 seconds that time. Yeah, because it's an EV, because it's all-wheel drive, it's repeatable. You get traction at all four wheels. It's able to instantaneously react to wheel slippage, everything. It is supremely quick, but very smooth in its delivery. I can say from experience, it does kind of run out of gas, run out of breath as you get into higher speeds, but the overall acceleration of this does translate into passing very easily on the highway or getting up to speed to merge onto the highway. That's why you would want a big vehicle like this to move quickly like this. It also helps you avoid obstacles, dangers in the road ahead of you. Where I test here on this back road by the lake, I typically see deer, and braking and accelerating are two important factors for getting around or past deer that may choose to do things that would not end well for the vehicle. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about visibility. Visibility out of this is generally very good. Those second row windows are absolutely massive. You saw how big the third row window was when I was sitting back there and looking over my shoulder. That's kind of negligible because of where the second row seats are. But I do have blind spot cameras. I've got blind spot warnings both visually on my head-up display, on both of my rearview mirrors, and if I put my blinker on with somebody in my blind spot, I will get a little vibrate and beep from the steering wheel and the sound system. So there really is a lot going on to keep you safe in this IONIQ 9. Though I will note the rear view mirrors, while they are most likely designed for aerodynamics, they taper off towards the end, giving you a little bit of a diminished view where you need it most, kind of like out over your shoulder a little bit further. I would like to have seen a more rectangular overall shape, but generally speaking, I've not had a big problem with visibility while we've had this. My biggest problem has just been its overall size. Well, that about does it for my time here at home in the IONIQ 9. Calligraphy, performance, I do love it. I really do think this rivals some Genesis products for overall luxury, though yes, it's missing some items like real actual leather seats, something I'm willing to forego in favor of space and some other comfortable features. Would you buy this over a smaller Genesis GB70? Well, that's really a different vehicle and a different audience altogether. But in this vehicle, this IONIQ 9, I have really enjoyed it. If you want to see what Holly's thoughts and opinions are on this one, be sure and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell down below so you are notified when future videos drop, including our upcoming family review where Holly is behind the wheel and Tucker is back in his child safety seat. I even show you from a POV perspective what it's like to put that child safety seat in. And my statistics say that only about 10% of you watching this video are actually subscribed, so you'd really help our channel out a lot by hitting that subscribe button. You can find us on all social media channels: Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, YouTube. Everything is at GT Garage Talk, or you can go to gtgaragetalk.com. But as for me, in the 2026 Hyundai IONIQ 9 Calligraphy Performance, until next time, gearheads.